Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Know-How is brought to you by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This episode of Know-How is brought to you by iFixit. You can fix it, and iFixit makes it easy with free step-by-step repair guides, high-quality replacement parts, and all the tools you'll need. For $10 off your purchase of $50 or more, go to iFixit.com/twit and enter the code KNOWHOW at checkout. Windows 8.1 tips, balancing your props for your quadcopters, and this is it, the last of our Arduino Clock build.
Damn it.
That was not me!
Oh, man.
That was not me!
Man, everybody was ready.
We finally got it. Welcome to Know-How. It's the Twitch show where we build, bend, break, and upgrade. I'm Father Robert Ballasare.
And I'm Brian Burnett.
And for the next about 43 minutes, depending on when TN2 starts, we're going to be bringing you some of the best projects that we've been playing with so that you can geek out on your own.
That's right. We gotta make this a quick episode because Alex is gonna bring down the hammer. If we
He's really been sort of doing the slave drive thing, the whole train conductor, the whole coach with issues thing.
He's so perfect.
Let's get on with the show.
Oh, right. That's it.
Sorry about that.
Okay, so what did you want to geek out on, Padre?
The first thing I want to talk about is urine.
What?
Okay, specifically I want to talk about an issue that if you've ever lived in a big city that has like the bar district or a lot of college students or just a lot of people who like to party, the unpleasant smell of public urination.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm used to it.
Actually, our parking garage here, there's we should have taken a picture of this. Someone wrote in big letters, "This is not a toilet," because parking garages tend to end up
There's some issues going on.
There's some issues. Now, imagine that, but you live in a city that's known for nothing but partying. All day, not just the weekend. No, I'm talking about this is over in Hamburg, Germany. Take a city that is known for drinking. It's known for the nightlife, and not known for having a lot of public toilets. And you end up with neighbors who generally don't like the fact that people come and use their homes as toilets.
I'm having a hard time figuring out where this is going to be geeked out.
Here's the geeking out. Here's the geeking out. If you own an iPhone or any advanced smartphone, you've probably heard of something called an oleophobic coating, right?
Yes, it's not afraid of water, but it repels.
It repels, and that particular one will repel like oil-based substances. But there's one called a superhydrophobic. Now, what this is, it's materials that can latch onto air molecules, gaseous molecules, normally nitrogen or hydrogen, and it will hold it right next to the material. Now, the cool thing about this is when you apply these coatings to anything, it could be wood, it could be metal, it could be glass, any liquid that is splashed against that material won't actually touch the material.
That's cool.
This is not it repelling the water or making it beat up. The water's not even touching that metal. Which is, it's one of the cool things. You can make these materials out of a lot of different types of substances. Manganese oxide polystyrene, precipitated calcium carbonate, zinc oxide polystyrene, silica, even carbon nanotubes. And it has these properties. There's a brick that's been treated, and there's a brick that hasn't been treated, right? And this material, this super hydrophobic coating, is what put the idea into some of the residents of this city in Hamburg, this district in Hamburg, when they decided that they were going to start coating some of the most desecrated walls with a super hydrophobic material. Can you guess what happens when you do that and then someone decides that that's going to be their waste station?
I would imagine it gets repelled back at them.
With a vengeance, Brian. With a vengeance. You may not know this, But you know, when liquid is repelled by a super hydrophobic coating, it doesn't just dribble down the wall. It like
shoots off.
bounces back.
This gives a whole new meaning to splash damage.
It is super splash damage. So what will happen is, so you're drunk, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and you're leaning up against a wall, and you have just soaked your pants and shoes.
It's a common occurrence.
But this was not. This was by design.
This
for
was
somebody else.
the hydrophobic sealant that was on the wall. Okay.
And they've gone one step further. What they've done is they've put up signs around the neighborhood to say that
humiliate
this wall has been
people.
coated.
Oh.
Right. Well, you know, in all different languages, even though they haven't coated every wall.
Just to mess with them.
Just to mess with.
Why
well,
would you'd have to test it out? Yeah.
It's kind of expensive.
Oh.
It's like $700 a square meter.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, so this stuff ain't cheap. So you're
But
not
it's
gonna,
cool.
But it's cool.
So if I put it on the bottom of my shoes and I went for a walk in the pool,
You could walk
would I
on water, Brian.
I don't think I
Trust
would.
me. I'm a priest.
Yo, okay, you'll let me try it out first,
I
though.
will.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
We could put that on the list for Leo to buy right under a Koenigsegg. So Koenigsegg and enough hydrophobic coating to.
Well, speaking of
ourselves.
Leo, didn't he use something like this on his? I feel like it was his iPhone, and then he tried to put it in some water.
That did not work so well.
Yeah.
Leo had a. I won't say anything about the company, but Leo had a company that claimed that they could put a super hydrophobic coating on an iPhone and it would make it waterproof. And he tried it.
Not so much.
Not so much. And that's the issue, because yes, you can make the surface repel water, but if there are any, say, plug holes or earphone holes or sockets, that's not really coated, and water will go straight in.
Okay.
So not great. Not
That
great.
is cool stuff. I wouldn't mind having that on like my motorcycle or something like that.
Right.
They repel the mud and stuff that wouldn't normally get stuck to it.
Now they're hoping that when they start having a decent output of carbon nanotubes, because right now carbon nanotubes are really, really expensive. But once they can figure out how to actually create them inexpensively, that they may be able to make super hydrophobic, really effective super hydrophobic coatings for, you know, somewhere in the vicinity of like $100 a square meter or $50 a square meter. If that's the case, then yeah, I could see this being something that you would apply to pretty much everything, especially electronics.
That's pretty cool stuff. The way that was it Hamburg? Is that what you said?
Hamburg.
That's definitely a creative way to use it. And
One other issue, though, which is it's funny because you're making them wet themselves, but that urine still puddles on
it's
the
kind of
ground.
got to go
It's-
somewhere.
Yeah, so it's not a complete solution.
We'll have to work on
But
this.
we're getting there, folks.
the future.
We're getting there. All right, speaking of getting there, now that I've completely ruined the show, starting off with public urination, let's go ahead and talk about something that's a little bit different, and that is having the right tool for the job. You know, just like having the right coating for a wall, sometimes when we're working, especially in DIY Maker, we need to make sure that we're using the right driver, the right socket, the right tweezers, the right whatever. And look, you could go out there and you could collect a bunch of different tools from a bunch of different manufacturers, and maybe you might get the right set, or you could just do what we did and use iFixit. Now, iFixit is the premier provider of custom tools, of crafty tools, not just tools that help you to open up your devices, but also the information guides and the replacement parts that you need in order to make your DIY projects shine. Now, Brian, go ahead and show them this wonderful roll of awesomeness that we call our iFixit Pro Driver Toolkit.
I use this thing every day.
We all use it every day. This includes a 54-bit driver kit. It has Phillips bits, Pentalo bits, Torx and Torx security bits. It's got tri-wing bits in case you ever wanted to open up those video game consoles, and triangle bits for things like McDonald's toys. Now, Alex, I've been using this kit back in my home studio, and it's been very helpful anytime I need to get into those hard-to-reach places for quadcopter work. This is going to include 70 tools total to assist you with any mod, any malfunction, or misfortune that may come your way. It's the gold standard for electronics work, from garage hackers to the CIA and FBI. But more importantly, this is the kit that DIYers and makers will use time after time after time because, well, Brian, you know this, trying to force the wrong bit or the wrong size bit into a screw, it may work sometimes, but more often you're just going to end up with stripped out bolts and Bad memories.
I think we have a what was going to be a BYB product review laying around because one of the screws got stripped out.
If only they had used our iFixit toolkit. Now, this includes things like ESD-safe precision tweezers for delicate manipulation, anti-static wrist wraps to keep your devices from accidentally exploding because of static discharge, nylon spudgers, metal spudgers, which is what you need anytime you're opening up something like a laptop and you don't want to mar the surface. You want custom tools, not someone's straight edge screwdriver shoved into the side so you raise up the surface. It's only $64.95 and it's backed by a lifetime warranty. Now, hobbyists and home DIY fixers also use this ProTech toolkit for doorknobs, eyeglasses, cabinet locks, sink fixtures, and more. If you're looking for a great addition to an artist or hobbyist tool chest, folks, look no further. And best of all, if you get this repair kit, you can use it along with the repair guides to pretty much fix anything. Now, here's what we want you to do. We want you to live up to your DIY maker potential. With iFixit, you can fix it yourself, and iFixit will help. Visit iFixit.com/twit for more than 10,000 free step-by-step guides. iFixit also sells every part and tool that you'll need. Enter the code KNOWHOW at checkout, and you'll save $10 off any purchase of $50 or more. That's iFixit.com/twit. iFixit.com/twit. And use the code KNOWHOW to save $10. And we thank iFixit for their support of Know-How. We used to have like 6 of those around the studio, and they're all gone.
They seem to be disappearing. I certainly don't have one in my drawer at home or in the no-hole or at my editing
I know
desk.
where they went. I think you've got one.
I do have
I've got one. There's one here. I think there's one down in the no-hole. I know Leo has one. I think Burke has like 5.
Well, what Burke does is he takes them apart and he reassembles them.
He makes one kit with nothing but Pentalo bits.
This is my spudger kit.
Burke's weird that way. Okay, but let's not talk about how weird Burke is because that's kind of counterproductive. Instead, why don't we do what we promised to our audience and give them some good old-fashioned Windows tips?
Yes.
Yeah.
Windows tips.
Now, we've got a letter here from Alan Delgado. He writes, I just got a new Acer S7 after you showed me yours at CES, and I love it, but I think it's broken. The trackpad is reversed like it is on Macs, and I can't find out how to fix it. The Elan Utility has a section for reverse scrolling, but it's grayed out. Also, the screen is really dim. I have it turned all the way up, but it never seems to be bright as yours. Do I have a defective laptop? Should I send it back? Alan, I believe I remember meeting you at CES, so great. Thank you for writing. That was fantastic. I think we met in the press room, and I was doing a little bit of video editing. On this? On this, and he was sitting over my shoulder, and it was one of these.
Hey, Padre, I know you.
Hello?
Oh, there's somebody there.
Oh, it's you. And he wanted to know about my laptop. He loved it, the fact that I had an Ultrabook that was doing video editing. And I guess he bought one. So, Alan, good on you. I mean, I don't get a commission for that, but I hope you enjoyed it.
These are pretty powerful, right? This is running an i7? Yeah.
i7, 8 gigabytes of memory. It's a 256 gigabyte SSD, but it's a RAID 0. It's actually 2 128 gigabyte SSDs in RAID 0 for ridiculous transfer time.
That's cool.
It's ultra fast. But I know exactly the problems that you're dealing with. They're annoyances. Thankfully, they're easy to fix. Let's take them step by step. The first one is the ELAN Reversed Mouse issue. This is, believe it or not, it doesn't just affect Acer notebooks, but this affects a lot of notebooks that run this utility. Elan decided that they were going to have their trackpads operate the same way that that MacBooks operate.
As they should. I'm kidding. Continue.
No, we're done. I'm just gonna forget it. I can't do the show with you anymore. No, okay. But seriously, a lot of people like that. It's the reverse trackpad, but Apple they kind of wanted to make it seem as if you're touching the screen and moving the page down.
As if you're using like an iPad or something.
Right. And there's a lot of people who, like myself, use trackpads where it's different. Moving it down actually moves the screen down.
Right, it's like using a mouse wheel.
It's like using a mouse wheel. Now, a lot of people say, oh, just get used to it. But no, it's very annoying. And believe it or not, it wasn't easy to find how to do that on the Acer S7. Alex, if you could go to my screen. So this is my Acer S7. You've got this on input 11, yeah. This is what this looks like. Now, I have this set. I had to go back to default settings so that it would do this again. It hasn't been reverse mouse for quite a long time. What happened to my mouse, actually?
Padre found a way to make it disappear.
Okay, this is good. I'm just gonna have to click on the screen. Oh, there. Wait.
Live demos are the best.
Yeah, this is doing something weird. So what you need to do is you need to go into the Elan mouse icon, like so.
Down, yeah.
Now you'll notice he said if he goes into the multi-finger gestures, there is scrolling here, which you would think there should be something there for turning off reverse scrolling, right?
Right, but
no.
It's just enabled or not enabled.
Yeah, and this is the problem. This is why there were people everywhere who were saying, what is wrong with this laptop? Why won't this work properly? This is ridiculous. Well, the reason for that is because something has been enabled called ZoomPerfect instead of Microsoft's default. And in ZoomPerfect, evidently, they don't feel you should ever need to configure it.
Is ZoomPerfect something that comes with Elan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not liking it. So what you have to do, if you go ahead and go back to my computer, if you go to the additional tab and you go to the gesture effect, there'll be configuration options here for either ZoomPerfect or Microsoft Modern Touchpad Experience. Go ahead and switch it to Microsoft Modern.
MMTE? I love that.
Yeah, exactly. So apply it, then go back to the multi-finger tab, and when you go to scrolling, now I get the option to reverse scroll or not. This is so counterintuitive and so ridiculous convoluted. The only thing I can think of is there was some engineer over at Elan who said, you know what? No, no. They don't get to do this. No, they're going to learn, damn it.
Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah, there you go.
They had an Apple insurgent or something.
Go figure. So that's how you do it. Just drop it in there, turn off reverse scrolling, and you'll be good. Again, I don't know why it's that complicated. It shouldn't be that complicated, but it is. All right, the second problem.
Which was the screen, right?
Screen, yeah. People have noticed this about all Windows laptops.
Yours looks pretty bright, and we're in the studio lights and stuff.
This is pretty bright, but and that's because we are in the studio lights. So all the new laptops have what's called adaptive brightness.
Yeah, and it uses like the camera to sense? Or?
Yeah, so because it doesn't want to have the screen so bright that like it's blaring bright in a dark room. But a lot of times it guesses wrong. And actually this may be more a me thing, people's eyes just don't like it. Like if I have it turned up all the way bright, I want it turned off all the way bright.
Yeah.
I don't want the computer deciding, no, it shouldn't be that bright.
Right.
And luckily there's an easy way to turn this off. What you got to do is go into the battery icon. So down here at the bottom, just double tap your battery icon, and you want to, go ahead and zoom in on that, Alex, so people can see it. You want to go ahead and tap Adjust Screen Brightness. What that will do is it will bring up a menu. This is your power menu. Now, whatever plan that you're currently using, in my case, I'm using the Microsoft Signature plan settings, click Change Plan Settings. Then you want to open the Advanced Power Settings. It's going to bring up this little power options window here. And if you scroll down, I'm doing this all on the touchscreen because for some reason my mouse cursor has decided to go away.
Do we have a fix for that?
Yeah, it's called turn it off and back on again. You go to this display dropdown, and in the display dropdown, you're going to see this Enable Adaptive Brightness option. That is the culprit. That's the thing that controls whether or not your computer is trying to guess how bright you want it. If you do a dropdown on that, oh, no, drop down on that.
Easy.
There we go. We've got on battery and we've got plugged in. And what I want to do is I want to turn both of those off. So if I shut up. I know.
Easy.
Come on,
so close.
Oh, it's wait. Bam. Oh, what?
That's
what?
cheating.
How you know me now?
You're using the keyboard.
Off. Okay.
Cheater.
Wait. Off. No. There you go. Aha. There we go. So if I apply those settings, what's going to happen now is it's taking itself entirely out of the equation. So if I turn up brightness full, it will be brightness full. There is no sensor that's going to turn it down or decide that I shouldn't have it that bright in this environment.
Right. Okay. So you have overridden the default settings.
Yeah.
You have taken power back to the user.
I have taken power. It is now mine. And I'm sticking it to the man.
That's right. Now, you might not stick him the first time because you might not be hitting the right button.
No, I know what it is. It's because we put it to sleep and it's still connected to the.
Oh, to the.
Yeah. I think that actually I did that.
That's right. Your experience may vary, but.
I think this is my fault because I was watching movies on this, and so I set it so that if it has an external display turned on, get rid of the cursor so we don't see it in the movie.
Well, it worked. And that you answered both questions, right?
That's both questions,
the end of it. Yeah.
So, Alan, there you go. A very simple fix. Don't return the laptop. The laptop's running just fine.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes in the quest to make your laptop smarter, they actually make it dumber.
Yeah. That software within software.
It's like softwareception. Softception?
Yeah, that is very strange. But
Yeah.
thanks for that tip, Padre.
There you go.
Now that you're going to give me this laptop,
No.
I will use it.
Actually, I might keep this one.
That
If I
one's
keep
pretty
this one,
cool.
you can take that one.
I think I saw some people asking about this one.
This
But this is a
is-
BYB review you're doing
This is a
later,
BYB.
right? Okay.
You know how I do my BYB reviews. It's long term. I don't want,
Yeah.
I'm not just going to take it
So-
out of the box and go, it's pretty.
It's so long that you have a 3 email policy.
Okay, my policy for reviews, and this is totally off topic here, but my policy for reviews is if you really want it back, you're going to send me 3 emails.
And if
The third email, I will send it back to you.
second email, you got a few more
Yeah,
weeks,
it's like-
months.
Well, first, everyone sends that first email, right?
Yeah. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah. No, I'm actually better than that. Most of the products I send back, but some that I really, really like, I ask if we could hold on for. Well, it's for you. The
I know.
desktop
I know.
downstairs.
I have been the benefit of this policy. I've had a gaming PC for a long time that I'm still
Homeworld.
reviewing.
We're playing Homeworld.
Homeworld.
Now, folks, if you have been watching Know How the last couple of weeks, you know that we've been doing a build along with Mark Smith. That's Smitty Halibut. Smitty from DEF CON. He taught us how to make an Arduino steampunk clock. It was
So
a
cool.
fantastic little project that used a real-time clock on an Arduino Uno combined with some analog gauges that have been hacked to detect current rather than voltage. And, well, take a look. This is the last bit. This is episode 3 of 3. And after this, you'll know how to clock out.
So, what have we done so far? Well, we've put the pins on so that we can plug it into our Arduino. We have soldered in a reset switch so we can reset our hardware if we screw something up. We've got 3 switches up here that we can use for minutes, hours, and calibrate. We've got a red LED that we can use here for the ticking. We've got all of those switches hooked up to their digital inputs over here. We've got the 3 analog outputs going to the potentiometers. We have not hooked up the ticking LED. We should do that next. And we have not hooked up the output of the potentiometers to the analog panel meters. So that'll be after that. Let's go ahead and rig up the LED so that we can tick. I'm going to use green for this one. If I remember correctly, that was on pin 13. That is LED 1. And of course, I hit it. This is where you want to think ahead, kids. Notice how I put all of these wires on top of the spot where we solder for the LEDs. That was not very clear thinking for me. So, just going to push those out of the way. We need 1, which is right there. We'll be soldering from the bottom. Hopefully I don't heat up the jacket insulation on those too much to melt them and cause a short. 13 is right there. Okay, so I've got kind of a jumper going across. If I had thought ahead a little bit better, I would have made this a little bit cleaner, but this will do. So we've got 13 going into LED 1. Like what I probably should have done is put the LED in the diode 4 spot, and then I would have been able to use that pin over there, which is much less crowded, but too late. I do not see any melty plastic bits with exposed wires. I think we're in good shape. All of the solder joints on the bottom look pretty solid. I don't see any solder bridges. So, the next thing to do is to hook up some panel meters. We're going to need 3 pairs of wires coming out from here, output of each of the pots and a ground for each of the meters. So I'm going to go ahead and twist up some hookup wire, cut those to the same length, twist a little bit here, just to hold it all in one place, then twist these together so they're not all wild and crazy all over the place. And then do a little bit of a harder twist at the end like that. So we're going to use that for the meters, we're going to use this for the board. So I've got a black and a red wire. They're each stripped. Let's plug these into the board. This is where we're going to get to use that big ground strip. So remember, there's that big one big strip of ground in the middle. We're going to use that, and then I'm going to use the red wire into the middle pin on each of the potentiometers on the other side, like that. Do the same thing with the next pair. This part is so much more of a pain in the butt than it looks. And we're going to do the same thing here. Hook up to the middle on the output of the potentiometer. And then one of the grounds on the other side. Kind of bend it down so that it's out of the way of the adjustment for the pots. Flip it over. So let's take a look at that. Looks like it's in the middle of the potentiometer and ground on the other side. Let's do one more of these. And if you had enough different colors of wire here, you could use different colors for hours, minutes, and seconds, just to make them easy to differentiate which one's which. I think we're just gonna play it by ear. Middle on the pot there. Ground on the other side. Bring it down so it's out of the way. Flip it over and solder. That is mostly it. Though I will confess that there is one thing we forgot. We forgot that we also need to hook up a real-time clock to this. Normally, we do that through these headers over here, the analog headers, but I haven't put a female on there. So I'm going to go ahead and take one of the 4-pin female headers from the switches and the LEDs over here, and instead I'm going to put it into the sockets of the 4 pins that we are using, the 4 analog pins that we're using for the real-time clock. So I'm going to go ahead and put those there, flip it over, do the same single solder one at a time trick. I've got 3 buttons. I've got a reset switch. I've got my 3 potentiometers hooked up to the pulse width modulation outputs. I've got the switches hooked up. I've got my LED hooked up. I think that's it. The only thing left to do is to plug it into an Arduino, making sure that you have all of the pins lined up. Then take a real-time clock, like the one that we had on our breadboard. Hook the real-time clock up to the correct pins. Let me power and program this Arduino. I've got my most recent code, Control U. And it's done. So if we actually go back to the computer, so we know we've got our code running on it, but we don't have any meters hooked up to it. So let's go hook up some meters to it and see what happens. These are just the meters that we were using on the breadboard version. Strip a longer chunk of wire off of here so that we can just wrap them around. Make sure to get the positive to positive and negative to negative, otherwise you will try to drive the meter the wrong direction. They don't like that. Always wrap your wires in the direction that you will be tightening the nuts on them. Otherwise, when you tighten the nuts, it'll try to unwrap the wire. There's a little trick to make wire wrapping these things a lot easier. And we have some analog values. If I push that button, it'll send it to full scale. I have not calibrated these yet. Which one is this? This is the middle one. So calibrate that out to full scale, turn off calibration, and it goes back to its final value. This one is apparently reading minutes right now because I have it on the middle one. Let me hook up the other 2 meters and see what they do. This one is hours, so let's go into calibrate mode and calibrate this for full scale. If you're wondering what I'm talking about when I say calibrate mode, go watch Coding 101. We talked about it in depth over there. All right, full scale, out of calibrate mode, so it is now reading hours. So we have hours and minutes, and then seconds. Let's get this back into calibrate mode and hook this up to full scale. Want to go back to the close-up? Out of calibrate mode, and we are now reading seconds. And there is our analog panel meter. And that's it. We have now officially taken our wild and crazy breadboarded idea that the wires come out a little too easily. Oops, now I just screwed up that project. And instead, turned it into a nice soldered project that won't come out quite so easily. You could take this and put it in a nice box like this or some other box of your choosing and hook up these, drill holes for these meters and mount them in there permanently and have a really nice project that you can put up on a shelf. That's it. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Smitty. I am at Smitty Halibut on Twitter. You can go watch me over there and hear me talk about all kinds of various things, including some projects that I work on. You can ask me questions. If you have put together something awesome that you like, if you've made something, if you now know how to make something, please tweet me with what you've done. I would love to see your projects. I would love to see the progress that you've made and your creative ideas, because it's really seeing other people's creative ideas that gives me the juices that I need to go do what I want to do. So I would love to see that. Please send me what you have. Thank you very much for watching. Back to you, Padre.
Thank you, Smitty. Seriously, that was so much fun.
Yeah, yeah.
We gotta have him back.
He makes it look so easy to solder like that, too.
That's another problem.
He's got skills.
I was trying to copy him from the video. I'm like, nope.
Well, not with your
Nope.
soldering iron.
Nope. Hey. Don't make fun of little homie. Little homie's been
I've
with me
named
for a long
it.
time.
I named him. He's sad.
Yeah, he's sad.
Yeah, that is such a cool project. And, it's a good entry into doing other things with Arduino.
It's a very good entry. And, it really does show you the basic principles of designing embedded applications. And that is figure out something you want to do, you want to solve, figure out what kind of inputs you have, and then figure out what kind of outputs you have to create. And that's really the world of embedded.
Yeah,
Do it.
makers. That's the maker movement.
It is the maker movement. Some people in the chat room were saying, wouldn't this be cool if you used nicer voltmeters? Absolutely. The reason why we use these cheapo ones is because we wanted to let
Take them
people,
apart.
Yeah,
right?
take them apart, and also get the confidence of working with them before they bought expensive ones. Because these are, between $2 and $5 a pop. If you really want to make a steampunk Arduino clock, what you want to do is go to like a surplus store that has really old equipment, because you want that aged look. That's the whole idea.
Which is what Smitty did, but he didn't want to have to take apart his already done project to show us.
Exactly. So we made a brand new one. But if you do have a surplus store in your area, that's actually a really good place to get ideas. Once you start figuring out what things you want to solve for, go by the old surplus place and say, well, I'd like to use that clock, I'd like to use that meter, I'd like to use that switch. It's a nice way to put things together.
Yep. So what do we got coming up here, Padre? You've got some equipment on the table.
A little equipment. So one of the issues that we're starting to deal with is vibration. When we were building our FPV 250, vibration's not really a problem. These props are so small and they're so light and so fast that you're not really worrying about excessive vibration.
Right.
But now we're building that 450 class.
Which we want to use for video, so we got to keep it stable.
Exactly. Vibration causes a lot of issues. The most notable issue is the jello effect.
Yeah.
You've probably seen this on GoPro video. Even on this one, you can kind of see it, where if you're translating all that vibration into movement of the camera, the screen will start to tear.
Right.
It doesn't look good. It gives people a headache. It's not good quality. There's a bunch of different ways to fix that. Some people, like I, will put a piece of foam. I encase the camera in foam so that it has a loose shock absorber.
Right.
That kind of works. But even if you can completely isolate the camera from the frame, vibration is still bad because excessive vibration can destroy parts on the frame.
So how can we cure this?
Well, we can cure it by doing what's called balancing.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, if you're using 5-inch props and below, like the FPV 250, not really an issue. In fact, I would never balance like a plastic prop, a 5-inch prop. It's not worth my time. You're not going to gain a whole lot.
No.
The problem is when you start moving from your 5-inch props up to something like an 8-inch prop, like a carbon fiber prop. It's heavier. It's got a wider diameter, and the vibration is going to be far more pronounced. So what we need is a way to make sure that this blade is the same weight as this plate. So when it's spinning, you're not going to get that constant vibration.
Okay, so it's kind of like balancing a tire or something like that.
It's exactly the same thing. And you get the same problems. If you have an unbalanced tire, you're going to notice it in the ride. You're going to notice it in the wear of the vehicle. Parts will start to fall apart much faster because you're essentially shaking it to pieces.
Right.
So if we can balance the prop, well, then we don't have to worry about that part of the craft shaking itself apart. We still have to do things like balancing the motors, but this is part one.
Okay, so where do we start?
We need a few things. If you go to the overhead, Alex, I'll show you what those few things are. You're going to need some scissors. You should have that. You're going to need some packing tape. You should have that. Or some sandpaper. I'll explain why.
What?
You need this. This is a balance because when we're balancing, we want to make sure that the tool and the surface that the tool is on is actually balanced. So find one of these. I think I bought this for like $4 or $5 on Amazon. That's not the one.
Huh. Well, I think you can go to any like Harbor Freight or hardware store and find them for pretty cheap.
Actually, I think they raised the price on that. And I have Prime too, so go figure.
That was the one in the dock.
They knew Padre was gonna, after Padre bought it, there was gonna be a surge.
I bought this for like $4.95.
And they're like, oh, time to update the price.
Never mind. And then this is a prop balancer. This one's a Dubro. There are much more expensive ones.
A Dubro?
It's a dude, bro. There are much more expensive ones, and there are much cheaper ones. I like to use a decent quality one. This is actually pretty dang good.
And this is $25?
Yes, and this is how it looks. All it is it's a way to mount the prop on a shaft, and then you hang the shaft between the two sides, which allows you to figure out which, if the prop is balanced or not.
Yeah, this one does look really nice. So do you think this is a project that we could build something like that?
We could build something like this, but for $25, anything I build is probably going to be more expensive.
That's true.
And not as good. But let's take a look at this. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure the surface is level. So we've got this little leveling thing here, and all my bubbles tell me that it's pretty damn close. This table is not going to have a level problem. I want to subtract that to make sure that I'm not unbalancing my balance because the surface that the tool is on is unbalanced.
Right.
Now we got to balance this because I need this to be balanced one side to the other because I'm going to rest the prop between the two. And obviously, because I designed it this way, this thing is not even close to balance, right?
No, yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to raise the side that's lower than the other.
Until you're level.
Yeah, can you hold that for a second? So we can bring this up to the level. Go ahead and put it, rest it on the top of the two. And let's see, right about there. So that's our balance level. That's going to give us the best possible balancing that we can do here.
Whoa.
There we go. Yeah,
Cool.
it's good.
Yep. Pretty good.
There we go. Okay, now I've got a structure that looks just like that. It's just two towers into which I can put that.
The two towers.
There we go. And that shaft is going to hold the propeller. Now this is kind of cool. This is a nice design. This has two cones on the shaft. Go ahead and go to the overhead. There's two cones on this shaft, and what it allows me to do is it allows me to pretty much use any size prop. And then it's got a spring load so that it will squeeze the prop to keep it in place on that shaft.
Okay.
So what I do is I go ahead and remove the spring load. And I'm going to take this with half cone, and I'm going to go ahead and put in my prop, like so. See how my prop just fits in like that?
Yeah.
And then I take the other cone, put it up top, and now it's going to squeeze it between the two because I'm going to take this spring, this washer, and this little piece of fastener. Well, if I can get that on there. And now I've got a prop assembly.
Nice.
Ta-da! Yay!
And the spring is just to keep resistance on the...
Yeah, it's just to make sure that it stays in there because if it wobbles around on the cones, you're not going to get a good balance.
Okay.
Okay. So now if I put this on my balance, and I'll set them so that they're equal distance from the surface, it should stay. But as you can see, one side falls because it's heavier than the other.
Yeah.
Now, that may not seem like a lot, but spin that thing a couple thousand times a minute, and you're going to have issues. With that much imbalance, you're going to notice the frame visibly. It will just be shaking itself.
Well, yeah, multiply it by 4 props.
Yeah, that's no bueno, no bueno. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can balance it. One way, I used to do this, but it turns out to be a pain in the butt and it makes everything look horrible, is you can sand it. Sand the underside of the prop to remove enough material so that it will balance out. But that takes forever.
And is that okay to do on carbon fiber?
I wouldn't do it to carbon fiber because you're going to actually remove that top layer, the protective layer, and you also create carbon fiber dust, which you don't want to breathe. So the other option is to use tape. Just use packing tape. Yeah, just regular old tape. What we're going to do is we're going to cut off a strip, like so, and we're going to tape it to the side that's lighter. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to equal out the weight, right? So this is
easier to add weight.
This is way too big of a piece. This is like, no, this I would never use this much. But so if I apply this, and this will show you exactly how little difference there is between the two sides. If I put this on and I put in the balance, now that side is way the heck too heavy, right?
That seems like such a small amount of tape, too.
Yeah, you don't need a whole lot of weight. That's the nice thing. And you want this out of your balancer. You want your balancer to be able to tell you if super minute changes in weight change the balance.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut off little bits and pieces. There are people who will just keep adding on small slices of tape. I don't like doing it that way. If I have to put more than 2 pieces, I'll start over.
Okay.
Because you don't want multiple pieces of tape stuck to your prop.
Yeah, that seems like something that could possibly come off during
It could come
flight.
off, right. I actually prefer to do it all in one piece. So typically what I'll do is I'll put a piece, but I won't tape it all the way down, just to see if it balances out the weight.
And then cut off another piece that's pretty much the same size and stick it on.
Well, no, I'll just keep cutting more and more from that piece until I get to the balance. So watch, I'm gonna put this on, not taped down completely. Let's see. And it's still a little heavy. Okay, so what I do is I end up cutting a tiny bit more.
So this is just trial and error.
Trial and error. This is approximation until I can get myself to a balance. Okay, it's getting closer. See, it's not going as quickly, but there's still too much weight here.
That little amount of tape.
That tiny bit of amount of tape is enough to drag the entire assembly down. You know, this is what balancing is all about. You're going to have to do a lot of minutia in order to make this thing work properly. So let's try it again. Okay, much slower rotational speed, so we're getting really, really close.
Oh.
There we go. So let's go ahead and, actually I cut off a tiny bit too much.
Whoa, Padre, nope, you need to start over. You can't do multiple pieces of tape.
I'm cheating for the episode.
I know, I'm just messing with you.
But if this was a final product, a finished product, I would definitely start over. Okay, see how that's like, we're really close now. This thing's almost not rotating.
That's a big difference from where it was at.
Right. So what I would do is I would cut a tiny bit more off. And this is how it works. You go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And the more time you put into balancing your prop, the better your quadcopter is going to fly. Now, ideally, what we want is we want to be able to put this prop in any position, and it will be so balanced, it will just stay there. See, this is really close. This is really, really close. And all the props I have on my quadcopters have been balanced this way. And what it will do is it will take away that vibration. Now, there is still going to be vibration because the motors themselves are not completely balanced, but we're going to save that for a later day. That's actually, you use a laser for that. So look at this, see? So I've got both sides pretty much wanting to stay the same distance from the surface.
Take your chances, folks. See where it lands.
Actually, when I first started using this balancer, it was still the summer. And I had this set up on my desk, and I had a fan that was turned on my desk.
Could you get it to
well, it was spinning so fast, because I went away for a while. I came back, and the thing was like, I'm like, ooh.
That's cool.
Not bad.
Kind of scary.
I actually broke one of the balancers because it was turning the disc so quickly.
Whoa.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Live and learn.
There you go. So you're going to have to pick up. I know this is another expense. I'm sorry, but it's either this or you're going to get a quadcopter that doesn't fly right. And you got to balance your props. There is no flying a 450 or above class without balancing the props, especially once, like, we're building a Special 8. We're building an X8 that's going to have 8 10-inch props.
So these props aren't balanced from the factory that you get them from? Or?
Yeah, even the ones that say balanced from the factory, they're almost never. Because they're mass producing these things. They can get close. Like, this was actually pretty good. There are some props out there that you buy, and it's like no amount of tape will balance it out. And those are the ones where the only way to fix it is to sand one side.
And have you ever noticed after, like, using a prop for a long time that it gets out of balance again? Or
if you
crash?
If you chip the prop, it's going to go out of balance.
Okay.
And you've lost material, so necessarily. Another thing to mention, if you can never get this thing to balance quite right, What it may be is that you may actually have one side of the hub of the prop that is out of balance. And you'll know that
What can you do about that?
if it keeps wanting to like do this, it like bounce off at an angle, it means that there's a piece of the hub that's a little bit too heavy.
So
and
you put
have
a
to
piece of
sand-
tape on the other side?
No, you got to
sand
sand
it?
that. That one you
Okay.
got to sand. So it's an art. You got to keep doing it, and sooner or later you're going to get it down to where you know exactly how much tape you need to balance,
Yeah.
depending on how fast this thing is spinning. But
And the
once you get it, you're going to love it because your
The
videos
reward
are
will
great.
be, yeah, the steady videos.
Yeah.
Cool.
So there we go. That's going to be useful because next week, and I hope all of you have ordered your parts, next week we're going to be doing the integration video. If you've got the parts for Project Alien X, we're going to put together the frame, the motors, the electronics, and we're going to start to get this thing ready to get in the air. And if you have your props pre-balanced, it's all that much faster.
You'll be good to go.
You'll be good to go. Now, we understand that this was a lot of material. Everything from the Windows tip to the prop balancing procedure. Brian, if only there was a way we could get them an easy way to follow that.
Somewhere you could access it on the interwebs.
What are these
Twit.tv
interwebs?
/cage.
How about that?
Alex knew where it was. Yeah.
Go figure.
And yeah, that's where all our old episodes live too. So you can check some of those out, which you'll want to do because this is an overarching project we've been working on. So definitely go back and check some of the old episodes if you missed them. Plenty of show notes to make sure that you don't miss anything, or if there was something you needed to buy for your project. And there's a handy subscribe button on the left there that you can use to download to your device of choice.
Yeah, and that's actually very important for our project-specific videos because we get people who say they actually like build the project as they're watching the video. They'll like pause it. It's a really good way to do it. Like the FPV 250, we've had people in our groups who will solve their problems just by following exactly what they see in the video. That's why we create those videos. That's how we create those videos.
Yeah. And if you want to check out some other cool projects or have a show idea or something, you can check us out at Google
I
Plus.
don't know, maybe Google Plus. Look for the Know-How group. Yeah, in that group, you're going to find over 8,000 people who are all DIY and maker enthusiasts. And it's not just quadcopter people. We've got
it's
networking
a lot
people.
of stuff.
We've got the artistic sort who are trying to get us to look at alternative ways to do maker projects. So it's a great place to go if you're a maker, if you're a novice, if you're an expert, if you're intermediate. No matter what you're looking for, you're going to find it in there. Just go to Google Plus and look for Know-How.
I mean, we call them know-it-alls because as a hive mind, we do know everything,
Yeah.
or at least we can figure it out.
We are Borg. Also, don't forget that if you're not into Google Plus, you could also catch us on the Twitters. You can find me at twitter.com/PadreSJ. That's at PadreSJ.
And I am at cranky_hippo.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, if you want to express your displeasure at being forced off all the time, you're going to want to check out the Twitter address of our TD. That's Alex Gumpel. You'll find him at ANELF3. Make sure you follow him. Make sure you give him grief because
Andre, we got to move on. We've got TNT.
We gotta
TNT
cut
about
this
to
short.
start here.
Oh, hey, Megan.
You know what? Before we move on, though, Alex, before we say our final out, we do have a parting shot. I do want to use it here because it has absolutely nothing to do with any of the material that we've been talking about.
we
Brian,
don't have time for this, do we?
we don't have time, but you know what? Sometimes some things you make time for. They're important enough. They change people's lives. They change the way that we look at the world.
do the
There we go. And we turn up the volume on this a little bit, folks.
Oh, it makes me so happy.
If you ever make anything like this is the sort of thing that we want to see in the Google Plus group. That's right.
We've gone too far, Padre. This is why Alex cuts us short.
This is the Corgi Orgy, created by a man by the name of Seth Dandridge. Go back there. Go show the corgis. There we go. Go into his Twitter address. Say thank you because this has given me so many hours of smiles and lulls.
This is my new wallpaper.
Yes.
Oh, and yeah, TN2 is coming up.
Yeah, that's a not so subtle reminder that TN2 is coming. Folks, I am Father Robert Balliser.
And I'm Brian Burnett.
And now that you know how,
Go do it. See? You've angered Anthony. That's what happens when you run long. You get hurt.